management or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the show, Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you want to join the show. You can also hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Getting ready to start back up with the newsletter. So I'll be giving you more information about that. And it won't be a news per se. It'll just be a highlight of the show and some of the other things that are going on in the around Black Focus Radio. So be aware of that. So, but we'll be getting that up and out to you, and also hopefully you'll get on the the mailing list so that you can keep up to date and in the know about what's going on as well. So just be aware of that. That's on the way. Okay? So I thought I'd let you all know that. We'll be up on Instagram here in just a moment. I have multiple accounts, and I actually started the show on my Rib Rub account as opposed to Black Focus Radio. So I want to be consistent here. So there we go. So it's up and running. So all of the platforms should be up and ready for you to log in and check out the show. Now, I hope you're also spreading the word about the show. Tell some friends, tell some relatives, tell some co-workers, the white ones and the black ones. Hey, y'all ought to be listening to this show because we talk about things that affect us all, especially here in our community. So hopefully you all will get involved and stay involved with what's going on with Black Focus. I'm proud of you guys. We are growing. At least we can tell by the numbers. And by the way, you can go out and download the Joynet Radio app at joynetradio.com or go to your prospective app store and just type in joynetradio.com and download the purple and white Joynet Radio. It'll say Joy on it. But we are growing. People are listening. When I'm out in the city tooling around, I talk to a lot of people, and people say, "Man, I heard your show," and it's amazing how people listen who you don't think is listening, and that's the genius of talk radio. I've been in this business all my life. Talk radio was the first job I ever got in the radio business, and fell in love with it. Thought I was going to spin records, and actually fell in love with talk radio and never looked back. So if you want information, you want to find out what's going on, who's in the know, then talk radio is where it's at. And I'm proud to be part of this delivery system that we have for the black community here in Little Rock. We have got to become stronger and stronger when it comes to black media. Dr. Rosie Milligan talks a lot. My dear friend and mentor talks a lot about who will tell our story. As you look at the history, as we talk about black facts here, and we will here in just a moment, it should have dawned on you by now that black history has been totally ignored. It has basically been swept under the rug. So it is important for us as black people to tell our own history. Every race since the dawning of man has done something to that effect. You go back to the caveman days, you see them trying to draw hieroglyphics inside the caves. You go back to the Egyptians. The Malians. It just goes back further. Southern Sahara. They're all telling their story, whether it's on papyrus, whether it's on the walls of a pyramid. But black people have not told their own story here in America. And we're beginning to see that happen as museums about black history are being erected all around the country. That's a good thing. But we got to tell our story in our classrooms as well. We got to tell our story when we're sitting at the kitchen table as well. Who will tell our story? That's important. Not for them, but for us, for our children, because if we go by what's going on in the classrooms today. Remember the story I read yesterday about how black children are 5 times more likely to be depressed? Part of the reason white folks, particularly white kids, do racist things is because of their parents. But also, they grow up in an environment thinking that black people didn't contribute anything to this country. To me, that's why black history is the most important, is to teach ignorant white people and their children that a lot of things that you live with every day is because of a black man or a black woman. So we've got to start telling our story every chance you get, but it must begin with you telling your children. Do yourself a favor. In fact, do your family a favor. Why don't you do like I do every day? Take every day and just do black facts. You can go on the internet, the interweb, the interlude, the webnet, or whatever y'all want to call it, and just simply type in black facts. And it'll take you to different websites, but I'm sure there are multiple ones, like the Equal Justice Initiative website. Some wonderful black facts on that website. If you just simply do that every day, or better still, to get your children involved, when you pick them up from school, talk about a black fact. Just like you say, well, how was school today? And when they finish their soliloquy about what they did, then you say, well, let's talk about a black fact. And challenge them every day to get a different one. You get one, they get one. That's how we change this. Because if we're not talking about our accomplishments, what we were able to do in spite of the bigotry, the racism, the murder, and the mayhem that was perpetrated on our ancestors. In spite of all of that, look where we are today. You see, if you understand history, you understand that what I just said is why they fear you. Because of all the things they did to Africans, to our ancestors, we are still here. That's why they fear you, because they can't get rid of you. They understand genetics. They understand dominant as opposed to recessive. They understand that melanin is the dominant gene. So if you want to empower your children, if you want them to grow up and be much more confident, teach them black history. Teach them that they are the parent and all others are the children. Don't get mad, that's just fact. You want your children to grow up and feel confident. You know, when I do my rites of passage, and we're gonna be talking about that here in the next month or so, because we're planning to do a rites of passage camp in June. Here's what I always talk about. One of the main things I lead before we do anything, we talk about history. We talk about black history. And I throw out names. Here's a little game that I like to play. I'll come into the camp. It's the opening seminar. And I'll come in, and we're going to do Black Facts here in just a moment. It's the opening segment. And I begin to talk about who black people are. And I'll throw out a name. Can you tell me who Benjamin Banneker was? Most of the time, they don't want to talk. But see, I have a little trick for them. Then I'll say, who was Garrett Morgan? Who was John A. Metzelinger? Who was Daniel Hell Williams? You might get one or two. They're tepid responses. Then I reach in my pocket, and I usually have a wad of about $31 bills. And what I'm trying to teach them is that knowledge pays. Then I ask the question again to prove the point. If you can tell me who all 5 of those men are, I'm going to give you this wad of money. Everybody's raising their hands then. It's about teaching them history. Because if you understand your history, then you will get paid. Because knowledge pays. Anyway, let's do our Black Facts for today.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
Did you know the most famous combat unit in World War I was black? The most famous American combat unit of World War I, known as the Harlem Hellfighters, or originally the 369th Infantry Regiment of the 93rd Division, was composed of African American soldiers serving the segregated U.S. Army. The U.S. Army did not send African Americans into World War I to battle due to segregation and racism. Whites thought that black soldiers would not be useful during battle. So instead of fighting for their country, they were digging ditches, building roads, and supplying the front line for the soldiers. The Harlem Hellfighters Regiment would soon prove the segregated army wrong. These soldiers were readily accepted by the French army, which needed reinforcements. After being trained, they took part in combat and began to build a legacy. This firstly neglected and underestimated group of true warriors soon became the most respected and feared group of soldiers of their time. This allied unit was constantly pushing the borderline forward with intense bravery and strength. The Harlem Hellfighters spent more days on the front line than any other regiment during the war, 191 days. It is the type of bravery that made them famous during the war. So famous that other countries gave them nicknames like the Men of Bronze. But the Harlem Hellfighters stuck with them. Why Harlem Hellfighters? Because the majority of their unit was from Harlem. We have far too many untold stories. Let's continue to talk about and spread the word about our hidden figures. And that's our Black Facts for today. And if you would like to sponsor Dynamic Black Facts, we'd love you to do so. As a matter of fact, we've got a pretty good package put together just for you and your company, and we can hook you up We go all over the country, all over the world, from right here in Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, Robert Webb is running late. He may or may not be here, but we'll talk about some things. But I mean, you know, I know a lot of people are getting excited about Black History Month. I don't get excited about Black History Month. I just don't. Because I celebrate my blackness every day. And if you and your children are not doing that, then therein lies the problem. I celebrate my blackness every day. Every day. Something on me that I wear that might be on my backpack is going to celebrate my blackness. So to give you an example, look at my hat. This hat is from the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. It is a hat recognizing the Black Barons, the Birmingham Black Barons. Okay? Love this hat. Let me show it to you. Y'all see it? Love this hat. This is the second hat that I have from that museum. By the way, if you're ever in Kansas City, you have to go to the museum. The other hat has the logo of all of the Negro League teams. So every day I'm celebrating blackness everywhere I go. As a matter of fact, I was in the store one day last week and a white guy walks up to me. He says, "What's that say on your hat?" I said, "Hey, can you read it?" He said, "The Birmingham Black Barons." I said, "Yep." He says, "Like the hat." White guy. I said, "Yeah, this was a Negro League baseball team." He says, "Yeah, I know." He says, "Yeah, I know. My father used to go take me to watch them play." Hello? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment.
Can I talk to you for a moment? How many people have come up to you and said, "Hey, I didn't know you had a business"? Yeah, that could happen when you don't advertise. I have a solution. Advertise on joinnetradio.com and let the world know that you're in business. I know what you're thinking. Advertising is so expensive. I've got a great package for you that will cut your expense and increase your online. So now it's supposed to tell the world, "Hey, I'm in business. Come spend your money on quality goods in my store." At joinnetradio.com. Here's the number. Call me 615-554-0568. We are here to assist you.
So, you think you've got talent? Tired of singing in the shower or dancing on the ceilings? Showcase that talent at the Lupus of Arkansas statewide talent show. And if you're good, you win $1,000. Schedule a trial beginning February 1st and 2nd. Call 501-766-2691 or go to the website lupusarktalentshow.com. All acts are welcome with a $50 entry fee. And who knows, you could be on your way to some cold, hard cash.
All right, welcome back to the show. I had to go and let my co-host in. He was loitering outside the building, and security called me and said, "Some big black guy out there, y'all better go get him." And called the police on him. Hey, Robert, how you doing, man?
Oh, what's up, Black?
Oh,
Yeah,
you changed mics on me. Oh, there you go.
Turn my mic.
All right, there you go, man.
Mic me up, baby. Mic me up.
How you doing, man?
I'm up in this piece, bro.
Well, you know, I'm going fishing Sunday. Go catch me some crappie.
I'm giving you the sun, bro. I expect you to.
Oh, that's mighty white of you, son. Mighty white of you.
You's welcome, son.
Welcome, Scotty Green, Jackie Wilson. Thanks for listening to the show on Facebook. You know,
What's up, Scott G?
I was telling people, and Scott, I thought you were going to call me, man. I was telling people that how you should be studying Black history. You know, I know everybody's getting excited about Black History Month, and I don't celebrate Black History Month. I celebrate. I celebrate Black History Year.
Yeah, I'm black every day.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, every day I wear something that reminds me of my blackness, and I was giving them the example of my hat. You know,
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
you know, or no matter where I go, I carry my usually this is going to be in tow somewhere. And if you look on the front, what do I have? Red, black, and green. I have an Ankh on here as well. I celebrate my blackness every day. It is who I am. It is what makes me who I am. I don't shy away from it. And if you begin to teach your children about their history, you begin to tell them that Daniel Hale Williams was the first black person, period, to perform open heart surgery. Or Dr. Charles Drew was the first man to create blood plasma, but they wouldn't use it on him to save his life. I mean, it just goes on and on. John A. Maxenlinger. I bet you may have on some Air Jordans right now. Or you might have on some Kobe's. You know, or you might have on some LeBrons. But you know, it was John A. Maxenlinger who patented the shoe machine that was able to put soles on shoes. Little simple stuff like that. You know, Garrett Morgan, every day your life is saved because of a black man. You know why?
Some impact. He has some impact.
No, every day.
No, I'm saying he has some impact in everything we do.
Well, he has some impact in a lot of stuff we do. But
I said everything we do, did I not?
well, you said some things we do.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
My bad.
Okay.
Thanks for correcting me, brother.
But I'm just saying the simple thing of you stopping at a stoplight was created by Garrett Morgan.
We can't leave women out. If you ironing your blouse, it's because of a black woman.
Of a black woman.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it just goes on and on, folks. So I'm not sure why you're not telling your children about these great people, and why you have to wait for a month that the white man gave you permission to celebrate your blackness. If you want to change the depression that we talked about yesterday
It wasn't
in
a
some
black
of your
man who
children,
gave it to us. A man.
well, Carter G. Woodson came up with it, but it was the government who started dictating that it would be, you know, because they first gave us a week. No, they first gave us a day, then a week. So I'm just simply saying it ought to be every day in your life. You will be surprised how it changes your children. I remember when this white teacher asked my son was about 5 years old, and she says, "What's your name?" He said, "Akili Kari Coleman." "Oh, that's interesting. What does it mean?" And he quickly snapped at her, "It means kingly understanding in Swahili." I'm just saying, it makes all the difference in the world, giving your children their history. 855-525-5683 is the number. Got a couple of things I want to talk about today. And Robert, you can chime in here, but some things, as you all know, and this came across my wall, I saw this a while back, and I meant to talk about it, and we got caught up in some other things. But the child support guidelines are changing in America. They're also changing here in Arkansas, from what I understand, February 1st. Okay? Now, I make no bones about it. I am not for child support in its current form.
Okay.
Okay? Now, before some of you all jump off the cliffs and, oh, there goes that. He don't believe in child support. I don't believe in child support in its current form, because what it ends up doing is creating debtors' prisons. This has been my argument since I started fighting this in '99. It creates debtors' prison. In America, you're not supposed to be able to go to jail because you owe a debt. Just imagine you're behind on your utility bill, and Energy can have you arrested. Just imagine you're behind on your car note, and Ford, Chevy, or whomever, Toyota, can have you arrested.
Until you pay.
Until you pay.
That makes sense.
Okay? That's what child support does. Now, I know some of y'all going to get your panties in a wad and everything, but that's a fact. That's a fact. So the guidelines are changing even more now, and we need to talk about these, because I want to talk about first what's happening nationally, and then I want to talk a little bit about what's happening locally. And the question that you need to ask yourself, what's important? And then I want to tie this into voting. Because, see, they passed these laws against po folks because you're out of touch. They're out of touch with you. But if you went to the polls, maybe they'd listen a little bit more. So here's what's happening nationally. Okay? Child support guidelines for joint custody. Act 907 was passed into law, stating that Arkansas will adopt the income shares model for child support on April 1st, 2020. This is the child support model used by the vast majority of the states. It accounts for income of both the custodial and non-custodial parents, as well as how many overnights the child has with each parent, including joint custody. The information below is left for historical information and context, okay? We will continue to advocate for parents, including, and this is from the Arkansas Advocates for Parental Equality. Now, why is this important? Why is this important? Because, see, my argument back in '99, when I started going to the Tennessee legislature, was the fact that, see, most kids don't give a damn about money, although they don't really understand that it's needed to survive. They more or less want access to their parents. And quite often, the non-custodial parent, which was usually the dad in 80% of the cases, 90% of the cases, I should say, was usually that non-custodial parent. So quite often, that non-custodial parent would just simply walk away because he has no input in that child's life. She got a new husband. He treats you like crap. You're a grown man. You're not going to deal with that. You walk away. I'm not saying this is right. I'm telling you reality. So how can you encourage non-custodial parents to take an active role in their child's life? Make sure every one of them has a joint custody agreement, number one. Unless there are extenuating circumstances like abuse, something along those lines. That's number one. But also number two, what you can make sure is that during the time that that child is in the non-custodial parent's care, he should get credit for that on his child support. You know why? Because even if I'm in a different household, I still have to pay rent. I still have to buy food for little Johnny when he's with me. I still have to buy clothes in a lot of cases because mama didn't send clothes. I still have to pay utilities, all of the things that the custodial parent has to maintain. I have to as well when my child is in my care. Now, here's the other thing why this works, is because I find that most non-custodial fathers have never cared for a child, so they don't know what it means to care for a child. They don't know what it means to get up every morning and cook that child breakfast. Okay? So this gives him a better understanding of what it means to take care of a child. And I always use this story. When I first started this in Nashville, I actually started in Memphis. When I moved to Nashville, I knew a young lady who came to join the organization. I was fascinated how many women joined I Love My Children Too, a father's rights organization. And she said, here's what I did. And she was against mothers. She said, here's what I did. She said, I got so tired of fussing and arguing about child support. I think I've told this story before on the air. She said, I got so tired of fussing with him about how much child support he's going to need to pay and this, that, and the other. So one day I packed up my daughter and my son. The daughter was the oldest. She was about 8, had a head full of hair. The son was about 6. She packed them up, all their clothes, took them to daddy's job, called him on the phone and said, hey, you need to come get your children. He said, I can't come get the children. I'm at work. She said, I know. They're outside your job, standing by your car with their clothes. And the little girl had her little doll was out there combing her hair. It was a hilarious story. He said, well, what are you doing? I can't leave work. She said, I'm giving you an opportunity to understand what I go through. When they're sick, I got to leave work. Okay? When they need to do something, I got to leave work. She said, right now, I've been giving you chance after chance to help me take care of these children. I've had enough. You're going to get an opportunity. You say you care about your children. You're going to get an opportunity to show them. She said, I'm going to leave them with you. And he was screaming at her on the phone. She hangs up and she pulls off. She goes around the corner because she didn't know whether or not he was going to actually come get them.
Right.
He did.
Of course he would.
Okay? And she ends up leaving them for 6 months.
Okay.
When they came back, he didn't miss another child support payment. You know why? Because the first time he understood what it took to take care of them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that's going to work in all cases, but the reason I always tell that story is because the system doesn't allow men to be custodial parents. It is jaded against them. So now what this new law taking place on April 1st is going to do, it's going to take into account the income of both the non-custodial and custodial parent. It should. It should not just be my income. Because here's the difference. If we are not divorced or we're living in the same house, doesn't my income and her income count?
Right.
So why would it be different? Because now I live in another home.
Yeah, I like that.
You understand what I'm saying?
I like that.
And moreover, what if I decide that I want to go on with my life? The divorce or the breakup is over. I'm moving on with my life.
Right.
I can't really raise another family.
Can't afford to.
I can't afford to.
Right.
Because 21, 32, 39% of my salary is going to my first relationship.
Right.
Okay? So to be including both incomes, mom and dad, this is long overdue. Long overdue. And it needs to run the gamut. Because at the end of the day, and here's the other thing. If I lose my job, and this was the argument that I would make to the legislature is that, let's say, for instance, that my wife and I are married and I lose my job. Will my household be affected until I find another job? Of course it would.
Right.
So if I'm a non-custodial parent, why do you throw me in jail because I lost my job?
Because that's how you get your money.
I'm just
I get
saying.
my money if I put you in jail. Other than that, I can't get my money.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying as a debtor's prison. And see, once they privatized the collection of child support, it got even worse. It's a debtor's prison,
Yeah.
okay? Because if
Say thank you to Bill Clinton.
well, exactly.
Say thank you to Bill Clinton.
Exactly. You know, so the reason I'm talking about this is because this is an important change for children. Because now because I remember, man, you know, when I moved back from Nashville to Little Rock, man, I had a closet full of clothes for my son in which he had outgrown.
That's what you do with them.
I ended up giving them to a shelter
Okay.
that was around the corner from me. But I had a closet full of clothes because when he was with me, she wouldn't send clothes. So to make sure that he looked good, I would buy clothes for him. And it was so bad, check this out. She would see pictures of him in certain outfits, and she'd say, well, why don't you send those clothes to me? You get that, right? Now, she's already getting X amount of dollars in child support.
Right.
A tidy sum, I'm just going to say.
Okay.
A real tidy sum.
So she should be good, is what you're saying.
She should be good. But now and then when I pick him up, you don't send clothes with him? I have to go and buy him clothes? I have to buy him underwear? And when I moved back, I had forgotten about those clothes was in that closet. And I just kind of shook my head for a minute. This is what a non-custodial parent typically goes through. Those who are trying to do the right thing. So I am glad that this law is about to happen. April 1st, it's going to change a whole lot of dynamics. Because I know car dealers I also knew the sister she and her ex had worked out the child support, which is what I argue you ought to be able to do. Now, I know in some cases you can't.
You gotta have two rational people.
Right, I know. But this is why the state of Tennessee passed mediation. Whereas that you had to, if you went through a divorce, and it ought to run the gamut, even in out of wedlock births. You ought to go to mediation with that parent. Okay? And
That makes sense.
you had to fill out a parenting plan.
Okay.
Okay? And that means that y'all had to agree on who's going to get little Johnny for what holiday, birthday, this, that, and the other. How long you going to be with the summer? And you all had to agree on it. The mediator was there to observe only.
Okay.
And they would put in their 2 cents. But if the mediator decided that one or the other parent was being obstinate, didn't want to cooperate, then that could be used against that parent in a custody hearing in court.
Okay.
So
So they both had to cooperate.
oh, you had to cooperate.
Yeah.
Okay? So mediation should be part of the process here because that's
But
important.
that was only in the case of divorce.
That was only in the case of divorce at that time. But it's important because those people go into these hearings, women, and it's my child. No, it
They
isn't.
take ownership. Yeah.
It isn't. It's ours. You know. So I think this is great. This is well overdue. Hopefully more changes will be coming.
Yeah, we gotta read that law. See what all's in there.
You know, so Act 907. So it's and I posted it. Let's see. Let's see. This is well, they posted some statistics. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna reach out to this organization and get one of these guys on Let's see. Just to read a graph here. We should all wonder how it is that Arkansas has absolutely no child support guidelines for its favorite custody arrangement. It's time for our state to put its money where its mouth is and set child support guidelines in cases of joint custody. Let's see. Order 10 to properly address child support under joint custody. Now, this is only dealing with joint custody. Joint custody being an automatic rebuttal of the presumption that the amount of support determined by the current administrative order 10 is correct. No child support be ordered when the income disparity between two parents does not exceed a defined threshold. So it goes through a list of things that it's advocating. By the way, 81.7% of custodial parents are mothers, 18%. So my numbers were right, so they're still about right. 18.3 is custodial fathers. The annual mean amount of child support order is $6,052, and the medium amount is $4,800. The total amount is $37.9 billion nationally. 74.1% of custodial parents who were due child support in 2011 received either full or partial payments. The remaining 25.9 received no payments. So here's the fallacy here. 71, almost 75% of the people who were due child support got child support. So where's all this deadbeat dad stuff coming from?
I don't know.
You get that, right?
Yeah, but again, that's just another.
Okay.
Way to,
41% of custodial fathers received all their child support compared to 43.6% of custodial mothers, showing fathers are no less likely to pay child support than mothers. Okay? So the point they're making is that women, and this was the point again that I made to the legislature, women default on child support in equal or higher rates than men.
Right.
Because
no difference, right?
There's no difference. And you know why? Because the system is flawed. Has nothing to do with those individuals in a lot of these cases. The system is flawed. You see, I went to jail because I was behind $3,000. Well, guess what? I had never missed a payment until, guess what? Lost my job.
Right.
And the money that I was making, that $3,000 totaled up real fast.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Don't take long.
It totaled up in about a month and a half.
Yeah, don't take long.
You see what I'm saying?
Don't take long.
So immediately they threw me in jail.
Don't take long.
And I'm saying, look, I've lost my job. Well, we're going to send you to jail to see if you can remember how to keep a job. Now, wait a minute. I'm a professional. I just got laid off.
Don't matter.
I showed up in court with a suit and a tie.
Don't matter. That's what you did wrong.
I figured that out later.
That's what you did wrong.
Because when they sent I told a story about the brother who showed up with the IV in, didn't it?
Yeah, they took him to jail too, right?
They sent he was a guy right before me. They sent him to jail. He had been in the hospital.
Nobody cares.
His 3 children and the mother of his children were living in his house.
Don't matter.
You get this, right?
Yeah, it don't matter.
So wait a minute. If I'm the father
It don't matter.
and the children are living in my house,
Don't matter.
you're saying I got to pay her child support.
Yes.
And you're exactly right.
Yes.
So because he had been in the hospital,
You
He's-
get excellent medical treatment.
he shows up in court because they had sent out a bench warrant for him. He shows up in court with the IV and the little pole. I kid you not. It wasn't fake at all.
And they locked him up.
And they locked him up. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they cold with that child support, man. I gotta give you.
This is debtor's prison. It needs to stop. It is no different from them locking you up because you can't afford to pay a ticket.
Yeah,
It's no different.
I told them on several occasions. Listen, y'all, this is very simple for me. This is very simple for me. This is not about my kid. This ain't about my kid. So I treat y'all like I treat any other bill. This ain't about my kid.
Yep.
This ain't got nothing to do with my kid. Y'all don't care when my kid get in trouble in school when he
Nope.
gets suspended. Y'all don't care nothing about that.
No.
This ain't about my kid. So I treat y'all like any other bill.
Well, the interesting thing is that in Arkansas, even more so, February 1st, they're getting ready. If your children are on SNAP, In other words, food stamps,
Right.
they're going to cut the benefits if you don't turn in the fathers. This is some low down stuff, man.
Well, man, no, it
You know what I'm saying?
It works well for them.
This is, I mean, so, we're not going to, and I'm going to read this to you because it just boggled my mind.
I really think at some point, because I think there's women, some women know, excuse me, great example. When I was on the housing authority, they would talk about people who were on vouchers for generations.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, the great-grandmother was on a voucher,
Mm-hmm.
the grandmother was on a voucher, the mother was on a voucher, and at 16, the daughter now is on a voucher, right? 16, 17, whatever the case is. She's already got a kid and she's already on a voucher. That's all they know. They don't know, I mean, I guess you could say they know what they see. And so for me, there's got to be a way that we can transition people from those voucher programs. I mean, it's got to be a way we can show them, hey, having a kid is not the only way you can sustain yourself. There are other ways you can sustain yourself.
You know how you can do that?
How's that?
Job training.
You know, the housing authority offered something like that, but I don't know whatever happened with it. But there's got to be a way to transition people away from those things, because people do what they see in most cases, right? Not all cases, but in some cases they do what they see. If they see their grandmother, great-grandmother on housing, then that's what they transition toward.
Well, you know what annoys me? I've heard mothers say, well, I had a baby at 16, she can have one at 16. I've heard that being said.
Yeah.
You know, and that's changing an attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You got to change that attitude, but more importantly, as far as I'm concerned, is that you have to start with an equity of fairness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, if you're my argument would be, and I'll never forget when I first started speaking on this around the country, the women in Los Angeles was ready to cut me a new one until I gave them some brass facts. So you think child support's okay? So what happens if you lose custody? Is it okay to see your child every other weekend?
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to take 21% of your salary and make sure and spend it on anything I want?
Yeah.
These are the questions I ask them. I say, is it okay for me to do the things that you do? If you think that's okay, if I'm the custodial parent, raise your hand. None of them raised their hand. Because at that point, they realized how utterly unfair it is. But you have to really break it down. And as I said, my organization in Nashville, the majority of the people that contacted me were women. They were women they were second wives or girlfriends.
Right.
And the father had become so disillusioned that he was throwing his hands up saying, well, there's no help for me.
He gave up, yeah.
He had given up, So we've got to do a better job, my point, in identifying this problem. And then not only identifying it, but making sure that the money is going to where it needs to go. Because in a lot of cases, it's not. It's not. So let me just read this thing from Arkansas. Because to be cutting food stamps because a father can't pay child. So here's what they're doing. And I was going to say, I knew a mother who had a car problem, and she got so tired of her car messing up, she decided that she would go and get a new car.
Okay.
So when she went to the dealership, her income did not meet the criteria. So the dealer, the salesperson that was talking to her, says, well, do you have any other income? She said, no, I work this, that, and the other. I work 2 jobs, da-da-da-da-da. He says, you have any kids? I said, yeah, I have 2 kids. You getting any child support? She said, no, me and the father done worked it out. He pays this, that, and the other. I pay this, that, and the other. The salesman says, well, based on the law, if you've got 2 kids, he's going to be paying 29% of his salary in child support. Now, I don't know how much money he makes,
Right.
but he threw out an arbitrary number. This is how much child support you'd be getting a month. And if you got this amount of child support, you could afford that new car. You're laughing, but I'm serious.
I'm sorry, man. That's not funny.
It's sad.
If you run down to the child support office real quick, I can put you in this ride today.
You know what she did?
She went down there.
That's exactly what she did. She went and put him on child support. So when they calculated his numbers, and he calculated the amount of money that he was spending on those 2 kids just as a father, he was spending more than the child support award.
Yeah.
Okay? And he warned her. He said, look, if you go through with this, I'm stopping doing any of the extra stuff. And he sent her a list and the dollar amounts of what he was spending on a weekly and monthly basis. Anytime she needed to go somewhere, all she had to do was call Dad. If he wasn't busy, Dad was there taking care of his kids, which is great. That's what it ought to be.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? But once the child support order came down, or she took him down through there, he didn't pay nothing but the child support. And she got the car, but she destroyed the relationship.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With the father and the children.
Yeah.
So the question that I have to ask here, because it ought to concern all of us today, and that's why I want to read this to you, because this is basically going to pit mama and daddy against one another. This is what this is going to do. And you think domestic violence is bad now.
Right.
It's scary, man. So here it is. The new state law requires people who get food benefits through the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program to cooperate with the Office of Child Support Enforcement to get SNAP benefits starting February 1st, 2020. We have more information about what it means to cooperate in this letter. We wanted to let you know about the change and what steps you can take to make sure you continue to be eligible for your benefits. A parent's decision not to cooperate with DHS or OCSE will mean the parent will not be eligible for SNAP benefits. Children who get SNAP benefits in your home will still be eligible, but the amount of benefits the household gets could be less because of a parent's decision not to cooperate. So now let me stop right there. Now, I'm not telling you what to do because I don't get food stamps. I have grown kids. I'm not in that world anymore. But you need to weigh cooperating with OCSE as opposed to cooperating with that non-custodial parent and how much turmoil that could potentially cause in your home. Okay? Now, I'm not telling you not to get your SNAP benefits because you need food stamps. That's why you're getting them. But I'm saying that if you've got a father who is trying to do the right thing, be careful. Because, see, the government doesn't give a damn about the relationship with your child's father and those children, because the government wants them to have a terrible relationship so they can lock them up and fill their private prisons. So you need to weigh. You might need to sit down. You may not have even talked to Dad in a minute. You might need to sit down with him and say, hey, look, here are these new guidelines, man. How can we get around this? Can you pay more? Because if I don't turn you in, they're going to cut some of my benefits. I'm going to need you to pull up the slack. Now, what does it mean if I live with a child in my home? If you have children who live with you but one or both parents do not live there,
Right.
you are the custodial parent or caregiver. Now, here's what ticked me off about this. Listen to this. The non-custodial parent is absent from the home and is called an absent parent. Boy, that's a hell of a label to put on another parent, ain't it? Why can't you just call him? You mentioned in the line the non-custodial parent. Why don't you just call him the non-custodial parent? But you gave him another label, the absent parent. Boy, that's great wording. To get benefits, you see how stupid that is? To get benefits, you must give DHS information you have about the absent parent, such as name, address, and phone number. That information will be sent to child support enforcement, and you may have to take more steps like paternity testing and going to court to get child support from the absent parent. If you have a good cause reason for not cooperating, you should let DHS know. Robert, what would you think would be a good cause reason?
I can't think of one.
Okay? Because who determines whether or not your reason is good or not? It's kind of like going to work and, being late to work, and one person missed the bus, the other one overslept, the other one was sick. Are those good cause reasons? Most employers would say no, you're still late. Good cause reasons include, but not limited to, it would put you or your children's safety, emotional or physical health at risk. Unexpected events kept you from doing what you were required. Court proceedings are happening to place the child for adoption. Now, wait a minute. Those are the good cause reasons? Okay. All right, lastly, last graph on this, and we'll wrap up the hour. What do I do if I'm a parent but do not live in the same home as my children? Non-custodial or absent parents must tell DHS that they have children they are not living with. That information, so I'm a little confused here. So I'm not living with my children, so should I just call DHS and say, hey, my children's name is Jonica Johnson, and we ain't living together? Should we do that? That information will be sent to child support enforcement, and you must cooperate with them to keep your benefits. Cooperating with child support enforcement might include paternity testing, attending court hearings, and agreeing to pay money to help support your child. If you do not cooperate, you will not be eligible for SNAP benefits. So things are changing. Some for the good, some for the stupid.
I heard that they're sending that out with the Arkansas Kids First, too.
They are.
Yeah.
That's where this letter came from.
It's about to go down.
That's where this letter came from. So, anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. We hadn't talked about child support on the show for quite some time, but this is utterly ridiculous. I'm going to be honest with you. I would use your better judgment. I don't know what's going on in your house. I don't know how much food you have to eat. But I'm telling you, if you've got a father or a non-custodial parent, that is, you all have a modicum of an agreement, you're going to have to weigh whether or not the agreement that you all had that has been working with you all, is it worth this? That's the question you're going to have to start asking. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't ever want government in my business ever again. I mean, I had a end of child support party.
You had a child support burning?
I did.
Okay, I should have one of those.
I was kicking. Man, I was. Where did I go? I was somewhere in Nashville. Oh, I went to Chewy's. Had Texas martinis.
Yeah.
Me and some friends, and they were saying, "Well, what do you celebrate? Is it your birthday?" No, I'm through paying child support.
Yeah, man.
And it was a woman bartender, and she looked at me like I was crazy. I said, "You got a problem?" I said, "Maybe I need to get a male bartender up here. Don't play with me."
Okay, I'm gonna have one of those. Plus, I just lost one kid off of child support. My child support went up. So
It went up.
yeah, but I'm not tripping though, because I've been paying a ridiculously low amount for a very long time.
Well,
So I'm not gonna trip.
I'm just saying this needs to be resolved, and Those are things that your state representatives ought to be dealing with, and they don't. I'm just saying.
Well, again, are they even aware of it?
No.
Probably not.
But what is the number one thing that affects children and families? Child support.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that but you.
Yeah. Oh, apparently not.
People aren't even conscious of it, I don't think.
Apparently not. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment. It's Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com. Hey, what's up, Cliff? What's up, Jew baby?
Monday through Friday, noon to PM on joynetradio.com. We like to say it's our issues, our solutions, our voices. Download the latest podcast on your favorite platform. Also catch us.
Jackie, Fahim, how you doing? James, what's up?
That's Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Hello to quality time at Marco's. Hello to being a game changer, an original. And to those who make it authentic, we say hello with the Founder Select Pizza, Old World pepperoni, sliced Italian sausage, mushrooms, on dough made fresh every day, and a sauce from the original Gianmarco recipe. Hello to an Old World original. Every store, every day, the Italian.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about how much money is your vote worth?
Serving the families of Scott County and the surrounding area since 1966.
That's a good question.
Mitchell Funeral Home. Understanding that a funeral is a celebration of the entire staff of Mitchell Funeral Home.
Apparently you hadn't read this story. This is going to trip you out.
And professional service they offer. Cremations, funeral plannings, burial policies, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are a few of the services we offer. Mitchell Funeral Home, Arkadelphia, 870-246-2611. Mitchell Funeral Home. Quality you can appreciate, service you can depend on.
I'm so glad I found the Kick Above. It's like my very own personal training studio. A Kick Above removed the guesswork and intimidation and offered me a very supportive and structured environment specific to
Woo, I can't wait.
Kim Leopard and her
I'm going fishing.
trainers even offered nutritional guidance.
Then I'm come back and watch the Super Bowl.
It's about me.
You going to Super Bowl party?
501-86.
I don't do Super Bowl parties.
Or go to a Kick
But yeah,
Above.
I'm totally going there. My sister's supposed to be having
Thanks
it,
to
so
a Kick
I'm
Above,
totally going
I
there.
look marvelous.
I don't do Super Bowl parties.
This is Habibi is 4317.
No, you know why? Because there are people there that don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I don't discuss sports in Super Bowl parties.
You see what I'm saying? Why they do that? You know what I'm saying? You always have 2 or 3 people that don't have a clue about what football is all about that ruins it for everybody else. I don't want to hear that. So I usually I guess for the last 15 years, I've tucked myself. Trying to think, the last Super Bowl party I went to was when the Giants beat the Patriots. I think that was the last one I went to.
When the Giants win the championship.
Yeah. I believe that was the one. Or was it I believe that was the last one.
Greatest news on the youth around Central Arkansas.
And I said, this will be my last one.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its
Hello, Dr. Quinn.
Let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, welcome back to the second hour of the show, Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. You know, I brought up the child support thing because, you know, y'all know I'm big on this vote thing, okay? I'm wondering what would it take to get you to go out and vote? Will the people that are going to be affected by the SNAP cut, are you going to vote? Are you going to vote? Should that be a thing that you vote against, or at least vote against the people who push these cuts? I'm trying to figure out what would motivate people to get up and vote, especially our people. Will them cutting your benefits? They're already talking about if Trump wins the second term, they're about to go out to after Social Security. Now you do understand, they call Social Security an entitlement. No, Social Security. See you later, Crip. Walking out here like Elliott. What's that running back name?
What's that running back?
You know that y'all running back.
You don't want to play for what is a running back for the Raiders?
Elliott.
No, he ain't talking about Zeke.
Zeke Elliott. Living out here like Zeke.
He ain't talking about Zeke. That ain't about to happen.
Oh, but I'm just curious. You know, how much is your vote worth? If someone came to you and said, "Hey, Robert, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars to vote for me," what would you do?
X amount of dollars.
What would be that number, first of all?
I'm going to sell out. My number's probably going to be somewhere in the millions. If I'm going to sell out.
Give me a number. Give me a number.
I'm selling out for all of it. Give me 50.
Give you $50?
50 million.
50 million.
If I'm selling out, I gotta get paid to sell out.
Okay. All right.
Can't sell out for free.
All right. Well, that makes sense.
Because I've sold out. Because I'm sure if you're asking for my vote, you also want me to give you an endorsement.
But how would they know you voted for them?
They wouldn't.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So here's my point. Trump Allied Charity is holding events in the black communities to give away thousands in envelopes stuffed with cash.
For what? To vote?
I'm going to read the article to you. In fact, this should be illegal. A nonprofit group aligned with Donald Trump and his presidential campaign held a cash giveaway in Cleveland last month, handing out tens of thousands of dollars in several $100 increments and plans on a tour of similar events in black communities across the country, Politico reported Wednesday. The Urban Revitalization Coalition, a group founded and ran by prominent Trump supporter, guess who? Daryl Sambo Scott. Sambo.
You added that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. You know, I know. Daryl Sambo Scott, who also serves as the chairman of Trump campaign's Black Voices for Trump, hosted the event in Scott's hometown of Cleveland. Organizers of the event, where winners were drawn and handed envelopes stuffed with cash, told Politico that the event aimed to promote economic development in inner cities and was run by the book. Now, let me ask you a question. How does that promote economic development?
Because you're giving them some money. You put them to work.
No. He ain't putting them to work.
Yeah, I want you to go vote. Here's a little cash to help you do that. That's economic development.
Okay, but that's illegal. But anyway, it is unclear which book they are referring to. The Urban Revitalization Coalition is registered, listen to this, as a 501c3 charitable organization, allowing its donors to make tax-deductible contributions to the cause while remaining anonymous. The group's tax-exempt status raises questions about the propriety of indiscriminately handing out envelopes of money and whether doing so somehow serves a legitimate charitable or educational need as required by law. The group would also be barred by law from engaging in electioneering. The group was first organized in Delaware in 2017 as part of an effort to push Trump's tax overhaul. Daryl Scott has been on Trump's highest profile, one of Trump's highest profile black symbols since he's been in office. Supporters. At the December Cleveland event, which the Cleveland Plain Dealer covered, Scott made thinly veiled disparaging references to anti-Trump forces, while his co-founder, Kareem Lanier, defended Trump's record in the black community. President Donald Trump, the one that they say is racist, is the first president in the history of this country to incentivize people who have the money to put it into urban areas, Lanier said. The event was also attended by one of the administration's highest ranking black officials, Jerron Smith, who serves as deputy assistant to the president. One drawing winner, dressed as a Christmas elf, shouted, "4 more years of President Trump, yay," after receiving her cash prize. Now, I'm going to ask you again. Wow, Dr. Quid. I hear you. Dr. Quid said, them so-and-sos. No, that's the only way he'll actually win the popular vote is by paying for them. So, again, I'm going to ask you, how much is your vote worth? How much is selling out your community worth?
You could not give me enough money to vote for Trump.
That's my point. So here's the thing: if Darrell Scott and his gang of law violators, what's the name of that? The Urban Revitalization Coalition.
Yeah.
If you think you can come to my community and give out $100 and think that's going to be economic development,
yeah, that's what they think. Yeah, but that shows the ignorance of most people. That, you know.
Oh my God!
This is how I benefit you. This is how.
I gave you $100.
I gave you $100. This is how I benefit you.
So here's my point in bringing this up. Okay, here's my point in bringing this up: is why not take the money and still vote against him?
You could.
Doesn't that make sense? Because
you could easily do that.
This man does not have your best interest at heart. So here's what I would advise people to do: take their money, cheer for him, and then when you go in, and then when you go into the voting booth, I got it, slap him and don't vote for him.
I don't know if that'll happen. You're seeing. I don't know. I want to think black people are sophisticated enough. I just gotta believe that we're sophisticated. That they're sophisticated enough that they would not do that. They would not go in there and vote for Trump. I gotta believe that. I gotta believe it. I gotta believe that, Dave. I gotta believe that. I cannot believe people will go in and vote for Trump.
That's okay, Dr. Quinn. I understand.
What Dr. Quinn
She says, "I'm sorry, but it's the truth." You know, here's the bottom line. This is what this reminds me of.
Well, you got to remember, Dave, you got black folks who voted for Trump for free in 2016. So what is your point? But this is the thing. So I remember in the Malcolm X movie when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought Malcolm in and he put 2 glasses of water on the table, right? Mm-hmm. And he poured ink into one glass and he left the other glass there, just a clear glass. And he takes away the other glass and he says to Malcolm, "People are so thirsty, they'll drink whatever you put in front of them."
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And so I think we're now at that place for black folks, right? A large majority of black folks live in poverty. And we would be amazed at what $100 would be able to do for them. Maybe that's a couple of days worth of food for them and their kids. Maybe they're able,
especially now that they're cutting your SNAP benefits.
Especially doing that. And I mean,
see how ironic that is? Now you see the tie-in, right?
Yeah, but I mean, $100, man, for some folks, that's significant. What?
I'm just saying, man. So here's what you ought to do, folks. When the Urban Revitalization Coalition comes to Little Rock, I'm showing up.
You get your $100?
I'm going. Look, I want one of them envelopes. Okay.
You get your 100 large.
I want one. Well, I don't know if it's 100 or what, but they say they're giving away thousands. Okay. It says here's another nonprofit founded by Donald Trump allies raffles $25,000 in cash to attendees at the event. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but that's to get you to show up.
You know.
So, to get you to show up and hear the message.
Well, you know, and they'll probably have the raffle at the end of the damn thing too, right?
Oh yeah, at the very end. Because if you do it in the beginning, it's over with. And you got to be there early to get your ticket in. Can't get that late. If it started at 6 and you get there at 6:15, you missed it.
I want an envelope, man. But my point is, if I get an envelope, he's still not gonna get my vote. And that's what I'm saying.
I'm not gonna waste my time getting this envelope.
You know,
because I'm not giving you my
well,
vote.
because here's the thing. I don't want some picture showing up and is that Dave Coleman at a Trump rally?
Because if I see you at a Trump
No,
rally,
man.
it's gonna go down up in this
I
place.
can't do it.
It's going down.
But I'm saying there are people, and I agree with you that there are people who do need that money. Okay? Take the money and still vote his ass out of office. That's how you do that. That's how they do black candidates.
Yeah.
White people will tell you, oh man, you're the best candidate. We're going to vote for you, rah, 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 rah. And then the black candidate loses.
Then you lose, you only have 4 votes.
Right, and you're wondering, wait a minute, what happened to all these people? All these white folks going to vote for me.
Yeah.
Look, what's the girl's name that ran in Georgia?
Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams. Oh, that happened to her.
Nah, they killed some of her voters. They killed 90,000 of her voters.
Well, still,
Some
some of them.
killed 90,000 of her voters. She wins.
Some
when she was on the show, she told us, "Hey, if things go the way they're playing, we should be good." But man, it didn't go the way they're playing.
I'm just saying that
The Republican Secretary of State said, "Hey, you know what? Let's purge 90,000 of these."
Yep. So I'm just saying, take their money, go buy you some Christmas gifts, Valentine gifts, whatever the case may be, and vote against them. But again, I think those of you who are listening, I think it's an interesting question. How much is your vote worth? Is it worth anything? Will you be steadfast like Robert Webb over there and say, no, I can't vote for Trump no kind of way?
No.
I can't. I agree with him.
No.
You couldn't pay me enough. If you said, Dave, if you voted for Donald Trump and you led the charge to get other people voting for Donald Trump, I'll give you $1 million. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
I can't think of the guy who ran against Asa, but man, it took everything in me to vote for him. I can't think of his name. I'm trying to think of his name. It took everything in me to vote for that guy.
Why?
He often walked in the room and said, "You got another choice. Either it's me or nobody else." I mean, that's pretty much what he said. Even though those were not his words verbatim, but essentially that's what he said. Either it's me, or it's nobody else. And I'm sitting there thinking, see, that's why I don't like Democrats. See, that's why I don't like you. It's gonna force me.
Well, how much is your vote worth? I think we ought to start thinking about that. Because, this is really no different than the slave when they gave you the right to vote and they show up at the polls with watermelon. Hello? That's why y'all need to know your history. This is no different. Here, boy, come over and get you some of this here watermelon. This is done by the mayor. This is no different. So what I'm saying to you, don't turn free money down. Just don't do it. It's kind of like the guy who found the $43,000 in the couch cushion that he had bought from a Goodwill. Well, it wasn't a Goodwill. It was what's the house building people? Habitat for Humanity store, Restore, and he took it back. Hey, I ain't turning good money down. Sorry, just ain't gonna do it. But you ain't gonna buy my vote. Now, if I got to take a picture with you to take your money, no, I guess I won't take your money. If I got to wear a Republican hat, I got to wear one of those Ku Klux Klan hats. Those MAGA hats?
Yep.
I can't do it, dog. I'm just sorry. Pictures never go away. How you think my grandchildren would feel that when I'm dead and gone, someone shows them a picture of me with a damn MAGA hat on? Are y'all serious? How would they feel? Now, I've got a video and audio record of who I am and what I stand for. That they could always go back in time. Anytime they want to hear Granddaddy's voice, here it is. And then here comes, they done look through all my memorabilia and proud of Grandpa, and that's that one picture in there in the back with Grandpa with a MAGA hat on. I could just see him say, Dad, what is this? Was Grandpa sick? Was he being held hostage? I can't do it.
Not gonna happen.
I can't do it. And I think that's what we've got to start thinking about here. Look, you can tell people you're going to vote for them. White people do this all the time. White women did this in the last election, presidential election. That's why look, think about it. If you all remember in 2016 how outraged white women were at Donald Trump. Y'all remember that, right? How soccer moms and college-age white women, and usually when they say soccer moms, they ain't talking about black folks.
No.
Okay? How all of them were outraged about him, grabbing them by the you-know-what. How all, he's this, he's that. And then 53% of them voted for him. Black people need to do the same thing. And when they say, well, Bob, did you vote for me? Yeah, boss, I don't know what happened. I voted twice. That's what we need to do, folks. There is no way that Donald Trump should get 15% of the black vote. What did he get last time?
I think he got about 10%.
I don't think it was that much. I'm just saying. How much is your vote worth? I'm just asking the question. Mine ain't for sale. I ain't for sale either.
It can be bought, but this is just gonna be nice though. You gotta break bread with
I
a
can't
brother.
be bought by certain people.
You gotta break bread with a brother. I sell out now, but you gotta be right though. You gotta give me enough money to help my folk. I can't sell out for 20,000. You gotta give me enough money to try to do something with my folk. If you can't give me 50 million, don't even come at me.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be. The conversation would have to start in the millions.
Yeah, you gotta come hard.
Plural. I'm just saying. 855-525-5683 is the number. First they came after your Social Security. Then they're coming after your SNAP benefits. What would y'all do to vote? How many times they gonna spit on you before you decide to get up and knock the fire out of them? I'm gonna knock the fire out of you. You only growing up in the hood, y'all know what that means. I'm gonna knock the fire out of you. How much is your vote worth? What would make you get up to vote? What would make people who don't vote go vote? If nothing else, if you're a brother out there who's about to get slapped with this new child support regulation, you better go vote, bro. You better start making a difference out there, because you're going to be locked up.
Dude.
I'm just being real with you.
No, dude.
And it ain't pretty. And don't wear a suit. Man, I wore a green suit. Man, I was looking good. Nice tie, white shirt. I get up in the jail. The brother's already there. I said, man, what you doing in here? You don't even belong in here. I can look at you and tell you don't belong in here.
Hey, man, Trump got 29% of Hispanic vote.
Yeah, I don't. But you know what that is.
8% of the black vote.
Well, here's the other thing. See, Hispanics to some extent are like black people.
How so?
Because the ones that are already in America, they don't want the others coming.
Stop.
They don't.
Stop, man.
I'm telling the truth. They don't want the other. Look. How many times when those kids started getting locked up at the border, how many times did you see Hispanics raising hell about it? Exactly.
Well, you did have some.
You heard one or two.
You heard a few of their activists said, hey.
Right, the regular activists. But Hispanics, it's the same with the people from Cuba. The people that have already come to the United States from Cuba, they don't want those others coming to the United States. They think they're better than they are. How you going? Come on, man. Dude is telling you he gonna build a wall, and 28% of y'all are gonna vote for him. What does that tell you? Lord have mercy. Let's see. It was 15% of the black man vote. No, it wasn't, Latanya. It was 8%. We just got the numbers. It shouldn't be that much.
What?
That's 8% of the black vote for Trump. As a matter of fact, you know somebody black who voted for Trump, you might want a blanket party him. Oh, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Y'all do know what a blanket party is, right? You catch him walking out the door, throw a blanket over his head. Now, if you really want a blanket party, you want to get some socks and put some batteries in the socks and beat him upside the head.
You know what I forgot to share? Yesterday was the 5-year anniversary of the takeover. I forgot to share that, yeah.
The takeover of the schools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Now, if you don't want to hurt him, then you just double up more socks and put them inside the socks, and you blanket party him like that. I didn't tell you to do that.
Dave,
Okay.
Dave.
I didn't tell you to do that, but you know, if you want a blanket party, a black Trump supporter, Daryl Scott.
Hey, man, stop it.
I'm just saying, Daryl Scott. You ever see a black person and they just make you so sick? You just.
Is Daryl Scott that guy for you? Hey, you know.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
You know, I gotta think. I really have to think that brother is not that bad. I mean, I gotta think that because I want to think that every brother is doing what they can in their respective spots to uplift black folks. I gotta believe that. I truly gotta believe that. Don't give me the shady eye. Don't do that. But I gotta believe that, man. I gotta believe that. Don't you believe it?
No.
Oh, man, you're a cynic.
Daryl Scott is a Sambo. He will sell you out. Daryl Scott is the person that I'm trying to think of. Daryl Scott is that person that will pretend like he's all for you, and behind your back he's selling you down the river.
So you're saying he was one of the slaves going, come walk down with me to the beach.
Exactly. Exactly. Where we going? We're going to the beach.
Walk down with me to the beach.
I don't want to. I don't swim. That's okay. Come to the beach with me.
Come to the beach with me. We're going to the beach.
That's Daryl Scott.
Would you like to walk with me?
That's Daryl Scott. I'm sorry. That's just who he is. He's a sad individual, man. I mean, I just can't sell out my people. I just can't. Maybe I'm old now. I mean, somebody said the reason you did the way you are, Dave, because you just old. Maybe I am. I'm old. Okay? But I'm glad I got here. Some of y'all ain't gonna even make it.
Yeah.
By the time you get here, y'all might be white.
Stop it, man. Nah, I'm just.
Wait, some of y'all selling out.
I'm just. I've seen Daryl Scott a couple of times, man. I saw him in D.C. once, and I'm trying to remember I saw him somewhere else, but I was, I never got close enough to him. I mean, I never got close enough to him to say hello or anything. I didn't want to.
Would you say hello?
I would. I wouldn't treat him funny because
I would.
he's Republican. I wouldn't.
I want. Somebody take a picture of me with him.
So,
no.
The first time I ever saw him was when I was in D.C. at the. Jesus, I can't remember what it is now, but
the strip club,
Congressional Black Caucus.
Oh,
and
what was he doing there?
That was the first time I seen him. And the crazy thing is, he was hanging out with other black folks. So that's why I tend to believe.
Before he sold out. How long ago was that?
I'm trying to think what year.
It was before 2016, right?
Man, he only got elected. He only got elected recently.
No, you're talking about Tim Scott. I'm talking about Daryl Scott, the pastor.
Oh, Daryl Scott, the pastor.
You're talking about
Tim Scott
from South Carolina.
From South Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay. My bad. I am thinking.
But he was probably sitting by himself with about empty chairs around him, wasn't he?
No.
It wasn't.
No.
He's not a member of the Black Caucus.
No, he's not a member of the Black Caucus, but he was there. I don't know what he was doing, but I saw him, and I didn't get close to him.
That would have been a good time to kidnap him and blanket party him. Drop squad him. I'm just saying. You know what I'd like to see Trump do? I don't want him to get hurt. I just want him to fall down the stairs on Air Force One. You know what I'm saying?
You want to do a George Ford?
I want him to start from the top.
Oh no!
And just tumble
all the way down. Yeah.
Cause That's what I want to see him do. You know, that's what I'm wishing for. Every time they show a picture of him getting off the plane, I'm hoping, yeah, man, come on, trip, man. Come on, man. Let's see. Dr. Quinn is in Uncle Tom's and house. Well, Dr. Quinn, let me tell you something about Uncle Tom. We talked about this the other day. Uncle Tom has been misidentified. Okay.
Still use it though.
No.
Don't let Dave tell you not to use it.
No, you should. You need Uncle Tom.
Because Dave wants to make Uncle Tom. He wants to change Uncle Tom back to what it originally was.
What you should be calling them are Sambos. Sambo was the one who tried to kill slaves. It was not Uncle Tom. I'm telling you. Look it up. I did the Black Fact the other day. Okay? It's been misidentified simply because there were some writers, and I think it was either James Weldon Johnson or one of them. They were offended of how Harriet Beecher Stowe portrayed Tom in the book. But it wasn't Tom who was the villain. It was Sambo. So what you should be saying, at least calling them Sambos and not Uncle Tom. I'm just saying. All right? I'm just saying. By the way, I don't know if you saw Ellen the other day, but we talked about the young man who had the dreads and the school decided that they wanted to suspend him. You know, there's attack on black hair care. You know, I don't care what you say. I like my natural. And we talked about this the other day. Can you imagine back in the day someone saying you have to cut your fro? Man, I'd have killed you. I didn't let anybody, man, when I would take my fro down, you couldn't touch it. You walked up to me and tried to pat my fro, you might have gotten slapped.
Really? I never had a fro. I had a Jerry curl. Never had a fro.
Oh, well, fro was before your time.
I had the curl working.
Okay.
The Michael Jackson thing on point.
Okay.
On lock.
But just imagine someone telling me to cut my fro.
But yeah, they're telling people now to cut their dreads and all kind of stuff. So.
Well, apparently Ellen and let's see who else. Ellen and what's the name? Oh, Alicia Keys. They just gave the boy $20,000
For what?
for not cutting his fro. It is dreads.
Okay.
On the Ellen Show, Alicia Keys delivers $20,000 to Mount Bellevue teen who refused to cut his dreadlocks.
Okay.
They told him, if you don't cut your hair, you can't graduate. See, that's some bull right there, man.
No, it's not.
That's
what happens all the time.
That's some okey doke white
But
folk
the
stuff.
thing I love though is that when people feel you're in a position of weakness,
Mm-hmm.
then they feel they can dictate, and in most cases they can, because you have people who acquiesce to that. I mean, you got parents who
Mm-hmm.
do it. You got a lot of people who do it. So you can't fault the kid. And as a matter of fact, I give the kid kudos. I mean, I think it was pretty cool they gave him a check.
Oh, I think it
Teaches
was
him
too.
to stand up.
Exactly, and it also says that you don't have to follow the crowd. You can stand on your own.
Well, I mean, that's what everybody talks about, right? Doing your own thing. That's what your mother tells you. Don't follow the crowd. If they're doing something bad, don't you just follow along with them, you know? But, you know, we live in a really crazy world right now.
Well, I'm glad the fact that the young man no longer had, he's got some money that he can put away in college as well. So that's pretty cool. So good for him. And, you know, as Dr. Quinn just noted, that California just passed a law that talked about that will stop discrimination. That's probably they bounced off a server. That talked about and stops discrimination against you based on your hair. You know, and it goes back to the story of the young man who was wrestling in Pennsylvania. Remember that story? And he had dreads, and and he had wrestled the entire season.
Oh yeah.
And in the championship, they decided that the referee decided that he needed to cut his hair.
Right.
And they literally cut his hair. I'm telling you, that made me hot.
Really?
Because the team should have forfeited.
No, why would they do that?
Because he's your teammate. It would have been a different story had he.
He's only your teammate if he agrees to cut his hair.
But that's the point. And he was looked like the only black kid on there. But here's the point I'm making: is that if I've wrestled the entire year, with my hair this way. No one has ever said a thing. And then we get to the tournament and they say, oh, you can't wrestle like this. That coach should have said, okay, well, we'll forfeit. We're going to stand behind our teammates. So that's what he should have done.
They make a great point of talking about. They make a great point of talking about John Carlos, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name,
Tommy Smith,
who held their hands up during national anthem. They make a great. They talk about it quite a bit. And what they were talking about, I can't remember the third guy's name who was standing there in third place. How that when he goes back to Poland, how he's kind of ostracized because of that act, right? And so he never felt the need to. He never felt any kind of way about it. He was actually supportive of what they were doing.
Right.
But when he went back home, he was ostracized from it. And I think that's what happens in white communities. If you're a white person and you support something like that, then they ostracize you. So those kids not being supportive of that makes sense to me because
that reminds me of something. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That reminds me of what Russ posted this morning. Did you see that post? So Russ, love him or hate him, but he had me laughing this morning. Russ this morning posted that he got a new neighbor. You didn't see this? So Russ went over to meet them and took a goodie basket with him. Okay? And when the lady came to the door, the neighbor happened to be white. And she said to Russ, I thought you were black because you had a Springer sign in your yard. Russ said, I turned around and walked away, and I'm enjoying those cookies I had in that basket right now.
Russ.
So, I mean, as I read that this morning, I must admit, I was I was in the bathroom taking my morning read, if you know what I mean, and I read that I just busted out laughing because that's what we need. We need more people like a Russ who will, because see, white people have got to start becoming intolerant about racism. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You all have got to start doing it. You all have got to start standing up. There is a gospel artist that has recently written a song that is chastising white evangelicals about their support for Trump and their support for bigotry and racism. White people, I've said it all the time, man. Maybe y'all are getting it. If we're going to fix racism, white people has got to fix it. Black people can't fix it. We didn't create it. We didn't create it. We have to deal with it. But if we're going to fix racism in America, white folks have got to fix it. And that means that they got to come to some type of realization about what's going on. Which brings me to the last subject we're going to talk about tonight. So do you know anybody who are like diversity, what do they call them, I guess? Do you know anyone who are like diversity managers or anything like that?
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are diversity managers. What's up?
They're stealing money.
Well, how so?
Diversity doesn't work.
Diversity doesn't work? Explain.
These diversity managers, they don't get anything done. They're worthless. And as a matter of fact, I posted an article, and you all can go out and read this article. The title says, Hiring a Chief Diversity Officer Won't Fix Your Racist Company Culture. Boom. And what is happening? I'll read a couple of graphs of this, okay? From City Hall to charitable foundations, Fortune 500 companies, to healthcare systems and universities, diversity, equity, and inclusion are increasingly claimed as top priorities. Okay? I say claimed because the gap between what institutions commit to in their mission statements and how employees actually experience the workplace is often chasmal. Many organizations hire a new staff member or executive in an attempt to close the space between stated good intentions and reality. The leaders hold different titles: Chief Diversity Officer, Chief Equity Officer, Dean and Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. Throughout this essay, I will refer to them as CDOs, Chief Diversity Officers. Most of the people I personally know who hold these titles are fellow women of color. I myself is one of them. You know, that reminds me, why is it that it's always a woman?
I don't know, but that's usually always women.
Okay.
And mostly white.
Mm-hmm. Nearly a decade ago, I met a black woman, I call her Sandra, at a nonprofit conference. We bonded over our indignation at the incredible whiteness of the conference panels. If I have to listen to another white woman talk about glass ceiling, she whispered, I might smash some windows. We spent the rest of the afternoon eating and drinking beer at an Ethiopian restaurant. And it was, by the way, you ought to try some Tej wine. It's great. And it was time well spent. Sandra and I both, assistants at the time, became fast friends. Now she is about 6 months into her job as a CDO of a corporate foundation. And here's the point. And I, a CDO at a racial economic justice nonprofit, we still talk often about our careers, offering advice to one another. And we continue to discuss and express our indignation over the challenge and burdens borne out by women of color in the workplace. Recently, over margaritas in a bar, Sandra told me that the foundation's all-white executive leadership team had hired her to solve their racism problem. Now, how are you going to hire a black person to solve your racism problem?
That's how you just did it. You hired a black person.
I asked, how was it going? Not great, she said. The trouble is that they don't actually want me to do the job.
No.
And that's where I'm going to stop.
No, Dave.
So if you are a diversity officer, more power, take that money. Take that money. Dr. Quinn, she said, I had the diversity inclusion department at Arkansas Tech. And by the way, we're going to have Dr. Quinn on here in the next few days. And it's honestly a check-off list for the racist white administration.
Yeah, because it shows that we are, so you can always say, diversity is very important here, and the reason it's so important, well, we thought it was so important, we hired a diversity specialist. But nothing happens from it. Nothing comes of it. But I mean, hey, it is what it is, but that's the game that America plays, right? That's the game that America plays with black folk, and we go along with it. We're like, okay, great. But more than likely what happened with that thing is somebody sued them. They got sued, and somebody said, you know what? As part of my settlement, I want y'all to hire a diversity specialist. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
They don't care if they actually do anything.
Dr. Quinn goes on to say it just makes the institution look good, but they don't actually let you do the real work because it makes them uncomfortable.
Exactly. But hey, it makes sense though. Like I said, that's America. The great oxymoron, right?
Oh man, I thought this was a great article. You all can read the rest of the article on my wall, but go out and check it out because the bottom line is this, folks. Stop being fooled by white men. White men don't want to give up power. They just don't. You see it across the gamut. You see it in the NFL. The reason they don't hire black coaches is because, number one, black players don't demand it, and number two, that's the next step in giving up their power. White men right now are scared to death. Even the ones who try to say they're middle of the road, they're scared. They've never been in this situation where they're going to be second class. They've always wanted to control everything. They've always ran everything. They've always wanted to do that. They are afraid of giving up their power. That's what this is all about. And they're going to go kicking and screaming into the 21st century.
Yeah.
They are. And until we begin to understand that fact, we're too quick as black people to say, oh, see, they got a chief diversity officer. See, that company, I'm going to go spend my money with. I bet Walmart has a chief diversity officer. You think they do? Now, if Walmart has a chief diversity officer, yet they're destroying black schools and public schools, how good is that chief diversity officer? Just making sure that they got more people on the. Just look, if you really want to make me happy and you're the chief diversity officer at Walmart, make sure you have some people in the there that's there for checkout. Don't have just one register open. Just saying. That's how you can chief diversity me. But black folks, oh, they got a chief diversity officer, man. Let's go work for that company. Facebook has a chief diversity officer. They don't like black folks. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'll bet the bank has chief diversity officers, but how much money do they actually spend in the black communities?
I don't know. All I do know is that we're often having these conversations, man, and it's funny that they talk about diversity, but usually people who are talking the most about diversity are usually the ones who are least diverse.
It's a scam, and that's the whole point. It's a scam. It is nothing but a red herring that has been thrown out. And here again, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because black activists needs to call this the way it is. And some people will say, well, I don't want to say anything about it because that's one less job a black person is going to have. That is so stupid. It's stupid. I'm not gonna say anything because that might cause that system to be out of a job. Huh? Yeah. So because they hire one black face and give that black face a title, and they continue to practice their racist policies, you're not going to call a spade because that might make a black person lose their job. That's the epitome of racism. Is that they pay you off to keep your mouth shut, Daryl Scott. Yeah. And all of you here in Little Rock, y'all know who you are.
Keep you quiet, right?
To keep you quiet. I'm just saying, man. Maybe I don't know, man. You know what? Maybe I need to take another vacation. I'm getting frustrated all over again. I haven't went out in the woods, and then I haven't been able to go fishing, so that's been pretty tough on me too.
Yeah, maybe you need some alcohol in you.
Well, anybody want to bring me a Texas martini? I'm game for it.
A Texas martini, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
My friend.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Love them things. Love them. I'm just saying. These people are just unbelievable. I was looking at, you still hadn't watched any of the Trump thing?
I haven't.
Well, they've been wearing his defense out. Here's one. Pam Bundy is one of Trump's lawyers. She's the former Florida Attorney General who took $25,000 from the Trump's foundation just as she was considering to investigate Trump University. Mm-hmm. She ultimately blocked the case. The other day she was at the lectern lecturing Democrats about corruption. You can't make this up, dude. You just can't make this up. Ken Starr, who was on there telling people that you cannot impeach a president. He's afraid that partisanship is set up an impeachment culture. Yeah. When they spent millions of dollars to impeach Clinton. Here's what I'm looking at this upcoming election. And I tell people all the time that I'm not as upset with Donald Trump as I am with people who vote for Donald Trump. Right. You see, And here's what I'm looking at this upcoming election. I think the America, with the election of Obama, saw flashes of the future. And it scared a lot of white folks. So now you got Trump in, and you've seen that he's the bottom of the barrel. Are you still gonna vote for him? Because if you do, that says a lot about Donald Trump and America as a whole. By the way, Dr. Quinn, on CDOs, they are part of the plantation politics. They design it to further benefit white boards of trustees and do not do blank that actually challenges the takedown of these embedded racist practices. Yeah, Dr. Quinn, we got to get you on this show. Yeah, you called me this evening. I sent you my number. We need to get you on the show. It's I like an academic who doesn't mind speaking her mind. I just love them because that's what we've got to do. Those are the types of people. I am.
I can see.
I love an academic because see, we get a lot of people get these little cushy jobs and they just don't want to rock the boat. Okay.
I agree.
But from what I've heard about Dr. Quinn, she was responsible, I believe, for bringing David Banner to Arkansas Tech.
Oh, really?
David Banner at Arkansas Tech.
Yeah, that's kind of an oxymoron, right? That is true. So
when I heard that, I said, whoa! So we'll be getting her on here real soon. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. She said she's more than happy to come. We'll talk about all that later on, Dr. Quinn. I sent you my number, so we'll get her on. I think she's going to come to the studio, which will be great. So with her driving down from Arkansas Tech, we'll need to give her, enough time to speak her piece.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Give her the whole 2 hours.
Exactly.
Bring what you got for a pork chop, Doc.
Loving it. But anyway, by the way, there's been another shooting that has taken place.
In Little Rock?
Well, this happened in D.C.
Oh, you talking about the guy who got shot with handcuffs?
with handcuffs.
Yeah.
What y'all gonna do about it? Y'all marching? When the march?
Who marched?
When the march?
I don't know. I got $20 on whatever they
Okay.
gonna do, though.
When the march?
I don't know.
And I also need the words to "We Shall Overcome" because I've forgotten them.
Stop, man. Stop.
Okay, so can someone mimeograph? Can someone mimeograph the words to "We Shall Overcome" so I can sing them as we march for another black man being murdered by a cop? The only difference is that this cop is going to get some time. You know why? You know why, Robert? Robert.
Yeah. What's up?
The only difference is this cop is going to get some time.
You think so?
Yeah,
Why do you think so?
he's black.
Do what?
The cop is black.
Oh, I knew that because they charged him with murder.
Yeah, the cop is black.
Yeah, I knew that because they charged him with murder.
So he's going to get some time. In fact, they immediately suspended him. It wasn't no question. So just a word to the wise, black cops. All of y'all out there toting the party line, just remember when you screw up, your ass is grass. It ain't funny, but it's kind of sad. It really is. So just be aware of that. I'm just saying. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. I'm trying to see if we covered everything we need to today. Police, they're looking for police in Little Rock. Ruff said, if you don't want to live in Little Rock, we don't want you to police our streets. I agree with you on that. Oh, here was the other thing I was going to talk about. I knew it was something else I was forgetting. So, the Trump administration, they say that they were after Ukraine because of corruption, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they were saying? And they want Hunter Biden to testify because of corruption. They want him to test, which makes no sense at all. But
I think what's important, I think what I want everybody to realize is Trump sees fear in Biden.
He does.
He sees defeat with Biden.
he does.
So take note of that now.
He does.
Take note of that.
And so do the Republicans, because Hunter Biden doesn't have anything to do with
Nothing
this
to do with
impeachment.
none of this, yeah.
Okay. But my point being is this, that if you're trying to root out corruption from allies who are using taxpayers' dollars, shouldn't that apply to everybody?
Yeah, I agree.
Shouldn't that apply to all allies? Israel's Ben Netanyahu indicted on corruption cases. Do y'all get that? If the Trump administration is so concerned about corruption, are they going to go after Benjamin Netanyahu because of corruption? You know we give Israel $7 billion a year, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money. So was Netanyahu putting money in his pocket? Were those American taxpayers' dollars? And can we depend on the Trump administration to go after him? This is a soap opera, folks. That's the point of me bringing it up. This is a soap opera. It's a joke. This man is playing the American people for a damn fool. And it's amazing how so many people have bought this hook, line, and sinker thing. By the way, comicdreams.org, like kleptocracy, investigation details. Check this out. This is why y'all need to be voting, folks. Y'all need to vote all of them out. All of them. Investigation details how GOP lawmakers cashed in on the Trump tax cuts. Now you know. What does that mean? That many of those white males, the 10 rich Republicans, check this out, the 10 richest Republicans in Congress in 2017 who voted for the tax bill held more than $731 million in assets, almost 2/3 of which were in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and other instruments. Y'all get that, right? So those tax cuts that they, look, not only do they vote themselves their own raises, but they vote themselves their own tax cuts. Because, yeah, I'm going to vote for that. It's gonna help me. I don't know one poor folk that can, look, by the way, if you haven't filed your income tax check and your income taxes yet, be prepared that your check is going to be smaller than what it was last year. Hello? But y'all voting for Trump. Mr. Trump got he got the economy going. We got the lowest jobs in the history of America. When his policies have nothing to do with job growth. None whatsoever. By the way, Obama started it all. He did that for black folk. So why is it y'all still can't get jobs? Why is it that you're working 3 jobs and you can barely make ends meet? But I'm working. At least I got a job. You damn fool. Yeah, I said it. They depend on your ignorance, folks.
You feeling it today, ain't you? I just been to be your sidekick.
Yeah.
You didn't need me today.
I'm just saying,
I
man.
just been sitting up in here chilling.
I'm just saying.
You on one this week. I like that, bro. You on fire.
I'm just saying, man.
You on fire, baby.
We got to change this, man. I want the people to be empowered. I want the people to understand that they can control this if they come together.
You can't say stuff like that.
Why can't I?
Because you think people are going to come together? You got to carve out your group and do your thing.
I still have
You got
to
to carve out your group and do your thing.
I still have to
Stop
have
being
hope.
so damn naive. Carve out your group and do your thing.
Call me the N-word again if you want to.
Stop being so damn naive.
I have to have hope that at some point people are going to wake up and say, wait a minute. You know, it's like eventually you realize that oil that's in that bottle that the snake oil salesman is selling ain't nothing but water. That fancy elixir that came from the streams up near Dogpatch, where you had to hike 20 miles up the mountain and down the path in order just to get it. And then you had to build a railroad to pipe it out. It's kind of like the water people got you buying water and saying it's from this natural spring and it's actually coming out of the hydrant. Y'all do know that, don't you? Y'all do know that, don't you? That Dasani and all these waters, you can get just the same water out your damn sink. I just want people to wake up, man. Maybe I am being naive. Maybe I just want you to wake up, man. I'm tired of people being abused, man. I just am. But that's just me. But anyway, we've got to get out of here. I'll feel better tomorrow.
You think?
Because I'm going to talk to Dr. Quinn this evening.
You think? Really?
And we'll get her scheduled for one day next week. Want to remind people that Ferrunda Brassfield will be here Friday talking about the Liddell Lee case.
Yeah, Peggy Egan will be here Monday.
And Peggy Egan will be here Monday, so we'll be looking forward to talking to her as well. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, folks. We're going to be bringing more guests on, locally and nationally. And we're not going to bring a lot of politicians on. I'm not. Robert can.
What you got against politicians?
Well, number one, they ain't buying any ads, but that's another story.
Okay.
You ask, they say if you don't want to know the answer, don't ask the question.
That is true. That is true, my brother.
All right, so we got to get out of here. Robert, you've been sitting over there doing nothing the whole show. You should have your quote ready.
No, hold on, man.
Oh, man, come on. What have you been doing the whole 2 hours? My God.
I like that.
Man.
Hey, man, based on what you said about black folk today, man, I gotta read this quote. This is my personal favorite. I read this quote every morning, so I'm gonna blow it out for y'all. It said I had to make my own living and my own opportunity, but I made it. Don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. Get up and make them. My girl, my family, Madam C.J. Walker. Hey, invest in your own community. If you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
Yeah, I noticed you changed it to invest. What made you do that?
Because, man, you ain't enough to spend money on community. You gotta invest in your community.
So you're saying that you're evolving.
If you want to use the word evolve, of course.
That's just like an advocate.
It just You're funny, man. You're funny. I'm not even acknowledging that. Please, your quote, Dave.
Here's my quote. The guy who was born rich, dodged the draft, cheated on wives, had to pay $2 million in fines for misuse of a foundation and $25 million in settlement for his fraud over the fake university wants us to believe that decorated war vets with a lifetime of public service are lying, and he's telling the truth. Y'all have a great day. Okay, Monday, I'm gonna bring the camera in,
Okay.
and we're gonna record segments of the show for the commercial. I'm gonna make a video commercial.
Join us every weekday afternoon.
So just be aware of that. So if you wanna comb your beard